Hello everyone and welcome back to my FPL Fast Track YouTube channel. My name is Jamal and today I am going to go through GameWeek 8, all the fixtures, and we're going to look for some patterns and come up with some strategies for GameWeek 8. So let's get to it. So the first fixture we have is Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Now the first thing that we can see is Nottingham Forest have a 33% record playing at home, whilst Chelsea also have a 33% playing away. In terms of total points, they've got 11 points. Chelsea have 11 points. Nottingham Forest have 5. There's a difference in 10 league ranking places, and if we look at the past 3 game weeks, Chelsea have scored 4 goals. It's not amazing, and Nottingham Forest have only scored 1. So immediately we know Nottingham Forest have not been performing well when it comes to scoring goals. In terms of conceding goals, Chelsea have actually conceded more goals in the past 3 games in comparison to Nottingham Forest, and that's we can quickly see in this chart here. So 80% of all the goals scored was by Chelsea, and 20% was only scored by. And see, out of all the games, they've lost 4 games, drawn 2 games, and won 1 record. Chelsea have played 3 games away, and they've won a game, lost a game, and drawn a game. They won against West Ham quite significantly, 5-1. They drew against Brentford, and they lost against Man United. And I remember that game, Chalobah had a red card. In terms of goals, if we look at the total scoring record away, you can see this is quite significant actually. If we look at just the goals scored away, Chelsea are second place out of all. So basically, out of all the teams who have played away, Chelsea have scored the second most number of goals. So that's quite significant. They've scored 8 goals. Whereas on the other hand, if we look at the home record for Nottingham Forest, you can see they are right here at the bottom. They've scored only 3 goals whilst playing home. So if we look at it in detail, let's have a look at the Chelsea players and Nottingham Forest players. So where we are looking at the past 6 games. So we've got from game week 2 all the way to game week 7, and I've selected both Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. You can see Nottingham, and this is showing players who have the highest points by the position. Now we can see Chelsea dominate when you compare Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. They dominate in terms of points. That's why they are all together on the left hand side. We can see Chalobah has got 29 points in the past 6 games. Caicedo has got 40 points in the past 6 games, right? And Enzo is not far behind with 38 points. Pedro as well, 37 points in the past 6 games. So in terms of player selection, if we look at Caicedo and let's look at Enzo as well. Let's look at both those players. Enzo Fernandez, yes. So who do you want and who do you have? Do you have both players? Do you want to pick one between the two? I'll help you out here. So Caicedo is slightly well, need just 0.9 million less than Enzo. He is in a better form. He's got 7.0. Enzo, however, he's got 4, and they've been playing the full 90 minutes. You can see that. Average point is very similar. Caicedo has 6.7 points. Enzo has 6.3. Expected goals for the past for per 90 minutes, you can see Enzo is actually more likely to score a goal in comparison to Caicedo. However, and he's more likely to assist as well. So overall goal involvement, Enzo is more likely to score a goal. So if you are to choose a player between the two, and if you do have the funds, Enzo is definitely your pick. So if I was to summarize this game, Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Chelsea are likely to win. They're likely to score a few goals. Enzo is your best pick. And Nottingham Forest is likely going to lose based on their historical performance. Okay. Moving on to the next team, it's Brighton versus Newcastle. So the first thing I see immediately is Brighton have got a 33% record of winning at home. Newcastle have not won a game away yet. They've got the same points, 9 points each. They're on very similar league ranking, only one ranking difference. In terms of scoring goals, Newcastle have only scored 3 goals in the past 3 matches, whilst Brighton have scored 6 goals in the past 3 matches, which is very, very good. And in terms of conceding, Brighton have conceded 4 goals in the past 3 matches, and Newcastle have only conceded 2. So Newcastle's defense is very good, and Brighton's attack is very good. And that's what we can see here. If we look at the performance, so I've got home selected. Where is Brighton? Brighton here have scored Brighton have scored 5 goals in total playing at home, and they've generated 5 points as well. And you can see this chart here, they haven't lost a match at home yet. So that's quite interesting to know. So they've drawn 2 matches and they've won 1 match, and this match, well, this is quite significant. Fulham is actually very good, but they haven't been playing well away. But look at their record. Brighton have won against Man City in GameWeek 3, and then they drew against Tottenham. So Brighton have played pretty tough teams at home. So now they are going to play Newcastle, and Newcastle is fixture difficulty 3. Okay, that's very interesting. Now, if we have a look at Newcastle's away record, look at that. That is incredible. This is very, very interesting. Out of all the teams that have played, out of all the teams in the Premier League, Newcastle are actually the bottom of the table when it comes to the away record. That is quite significant, isn't it? So they've played 3 times and they've drawn 3 times. And if you actually hold on, it's not okay. My bad. I'm gonna retract what I said. But out of Newcastle's away record is 3 points out of 3 games, and they've drawn every single game. And if we were to look at the entire table, they are mid-table. And they haven't scored a goal away yet, and they haven't conceded a goal away yet. So that is very, very interesting. If we have a look at both Brighton and Newcastle together, we can see Newcastle's defense have been dominating, and they have a lot of points in comparison to Brighton's defenders. You can see the most points for defenders between the two teams are from Newcastle. So Burn has 34 points, right? Tino Livramento has 28 points, and he didn't play last game. Botman has 26 points, and Brighton's best defender is Van Heck, and he has 20 points in the last 6 games. You can see his general record is only 1 point and 3 points, and he managed to score a goal in GameWeek 7, so he did get quite a lot of points there. In terms of midfielders, we can clearly see Minte is the best player with the most number of points for Brighton and Newcastle. So when we look at both teams together, Minte has the most points. He has got 28 points in the past 6 games, and after him comes Bruno Guimaraes with 27 points. He scored a goal and an assist, so he bumped up quite high because of his last game. And if we look at the forwards, Waltermaid has been doing exceptionally well since he's come. He has been transferred in 383,000 times. His price has gone up by 1 as well. So if the Newcastle, I can see they're playing Brighton, Fulham, and then West Ham. So they have actually got good fixtures coming up. So to summarize, this is going to be a very interesting game, purely because Newcastle haven't conceded anything away. Brighton have been scoring quite well and they haven't lost. So both teams haven't lost actually. So if let's have a look at Waltermaid and Minte comparison. Okay, so let's click on Waltermaid here, and then we look at for Minte. Yakuba Minte. Yeah, so if we were to compare them together, first things first, Minte has been getting extra minutes, 88 minutes. Nick Waltermore, he hasn't been getting amazing minutes. Okay, so when he started, he got 64 minutes. Second game, 83. Then he got 66 minutes. But in his last game, he got the full 90 minutes. Yakuba Minte, however, he's been generally playing full games. But in Game Week 5, he played 75 minutes. Okay? Now, so they're both these players seem like they will be playing for at least most of the match. if we look at the XG for the per 90 minutes, Ultimate is much more likely to score a goal. However, Minte is more likely to give an assist. Overall goal involvement, Ultimate is likely to have a more likely to score in comparison to Minte. However, if you look at this stat here, Brighton are likely to concede as well. It says 1.34, which means they are likely to concede roughly 1.34 goals in 90 minutes. On the other hand, Newcastle are likely to concede expected goals conceded is 0.8, which means since it's less than 1, they are likely to have a clean sheet. So for this reason, I would pick. That's a very, very interesting one. It is safe to have Newcastle defenders in your team purely because of historical stats. So if you have Burn, Livramento, Botman, do play them on Pope as well, yes. But what I'll do, I will have a look at all the other teams to see if any other teams are more likely to have a stronger clean sheet. So I will have to look into that purely because Brighton are good at scoring. So although Newcastle's defense is strong, although Newcastle haven't conceded anything away, because of Brighton's ability to score a lot of goals, we will have to get back to it and decide whether we should bench Newcastle defenders or not. I will come back to that. I'll keep a note of that. Next game, Burnley versus Leeds. Okay. First things first, immediately I see 33% home win ratio for Burnley, 33% away record for Leeds. Total points, they've got 4 points difference. League ranking, very similar. Goals scored past 3 games. Leeds have scored 6 goals. Burnley has scored 3 goals only in the past 3 games. Conceding, Burnley conceded 8 goals in the past 3 games. Leeds have conceded 5. So just on this data alone, it seems like Leeds are more stronger than Burnley. Let's have a look at it in more detail. So Burnley are currently sitting at the second last position or ranking in the league table with a total of 4 points. They have lost 5 games, won 1 game and drawn 1 game. Playing at home, they've actually got a better record playing at home than away. So look at this. When Burnley play away, they've lost every single game. Whereas when they play at home, they've only lost 1 game, they've won a game, and they drew once as well. So that just tells you that they're more comfortable playing at home and they have a better record at home than away. In terms of goals scored, when they played Sunderland in GameWeek 2, the only win of the season so far, they scored 2 goals at home. They lost to Liverpool, only 1 goal. So that was, considering losing against Liverpool, by only 1 goal, that just shows that Burnley's defense is actually quite good, and they drew against Nottingham Forest. Okay, so Burnley's home record is better than the away record. That's something that we can take away. And in terms of conceding, they've only conceded twice at home. So that shows that they're quite strong defensively. That's something we need to keep a note of. Okay, on the other hand, Leeds away. How is Leeds away? Okay, so this is also very interesting. Leeds have played 3 times, they've lost twice, they've won once, and they've won against Wolves only. They lost 5-0 to Arsenal, 1-0 to Fulham. So how are they going to perform against Burnley? Now, if you look at this stat here, they've conceded 7 goals playing away, and they've only scored 3 goals whilst playing away. So although this shows that Leeds are better than Burnley, if we break the stats down between home and away fixtures, Burnley do have a very good record playing at home. So that is something very, very interesting. Now, if we let's have a look at DEFCON points for Burnley. This is very, very interesting. Do you know what? Let me sort it by top to bottom. Look at this. Burnley are the 3rd top team to have the most defensive contribution points. That's very interesting. So what we can definitely expect, and who is the best player? Cullen. Cullen's got a total of 8 DEFCON points in the past 6 games. And look at his previous game. In GameWeek 6, when they played against Aston Villa, Cullen got 2 bonus points. They conceded 2 goals. Even after conceding two goals, Cullen got 2 bonus points, 2 defensive contribution points, and he had a total of 20 defensive contribution tackles and interceptions. That's one of the highest I've seen. So he is clearly a very, very busy midfielder, and you can expect something like that when they play against an attacking team. But if just looking at other teammates, you can see Florentino also has 6 defensive contribution points, and Steve has also got 6 defensive contribution points. In terms of points, let's have a look at both teams, Burnley and Leeds. Okay, now this is interesting. Anthony is still the top performer for Burnley with 39 points in the past 6 games. We know he only played 58 minutes in the past game. That was quite sad because I do have him on my team, and I only got 1 point out of him in the last game, which I wasn't too happy with. Cullen comes second. Longstaff's been quite well as well. He comes third. He just had a really good game week 6. Other than that, he hasn't really done much. And then Joe Roden, he's got 7 points. Yeah, so overall the players are not amazingly top performers with high points, other than Anthony. But my prediction for this game is actually, I think Burnley are going to do very well, actually. I think Burnley could possibly win it. So, and that's because of their home record. Uh, Burnley are likely to win this game. Okay, let's make it even more clear. Burnley are likely to score in this game, right? That is a very high probability. So I would, if you do have Anthony in your team, I would definitely get him involved. Okay. Okay. Next game, Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth. Again, first thing I notice is 33% home win ratio for Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth have won 33% of their away matches. In terms of points, it's very similar. The rankings are very similar. Goals in the past 3 games are exactly the same. Goals conceded in the past 3 games are also very similar. So the first thing we can see that both the teams have very similar stats. Let's go into more detail. So let's start off with Crystal Palace's home record. Let's see, where is Crystal Palace? Here, Crystal Palace. Okay, so Crystal Palace have not lost a game at home yet. They've drawn twice and they won against Liverpool, right? On the other hand, Bournemouth away, they haven't actually been performing amazing, but they have won a game, lost a game, and drawn a game. They drew against Leeds, they won against Tottenham, and they lost against Liverpool. They've conceded 6 goals away and scored 5 goals, which is quite surprising. Whilst Crystal Palace at home, they have only conceded 2 goals. So Crystal Palace are so far have been a rock at the back, to be honest. If we just remove the home filter, overall Crystal Palace have only conceded 5 goals, and you can see here. And if we just see ranking wise who conceded the most or least, Crystal Palace is actually joint second place with Newcastle and Spurs when it comes to conceding the least amount of goal. Only Arsenal have a better record. So that's very interesting. On the other hand, if we look at Bournemouth have, and just look at their scoring record, Bournemouth are one of the top scorers in the league so far. So this will be a very interesting battle. If we look at the players in detail, let's have a look at their best players. Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. Okay, so Crystal Palace, we can see both teams have very high scoring points. Defenders like Senesi got 44 points in the past 6 games. Then Mark Guihi got 40 points. Trafford got 32. Munoz got 31. Semenyo's smashing it at the moment with 51 points in the last 6 games. Sa comes second with 33 points. Strikers are quite average there. So if we were to consider who could score better. Let's have a look at Semenyo and Sa, the top midfielders. Okay, just looking at the goal involvement, you can see Sa is actually surprisingly has a better XG compared to Semenyo. This is quite surprising. But if we look at actual goals, if we look at attacking returns between Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, Semenyo has 7 attacking returns. Sa has only 4. So that is quite interesting because although, oops, what have I done? Also, although Semenyo has a lower XG, Sa has a higher XG, we know Semenyo has a better attacking record, therefore Semenyo would still be the better pick. Points doesn't lie. So my summary for this game is I expect goals. I expect goals, but there won't be too many goals. If there is a goal, it would be from Semenyo or top performers like Kluivert. At the same time, Crystal Palace are very good at the back. So I would say 1-0 to Bournemouth. But I wouldn't captain Semenyo in this game, purely because Crystal Palace are very good. Moving on to the next match. Manchester City versus Everton. Manchester City have a 76% win record playing at home, whilst Everton have only got a 33% win record playing away. Points are very similar, surprisingly. League ranking is also not too bad. In terms of goals, though, Man City have got a better share of scoring goals in the past 3 games. And in terms of conceding, Man City also have a better record at conceding less goals in comparison to Everton. So from this stat, we can easily see Man City are more favourite to win. But let's have a look at the details. Home, Man City. Man City have the second most highest number of goals scored after Arsenal. However, you can see that they've only played 3 games, so I'm not going to judge based on what level they are at. But out of the 3 games, they've won 2 games and they've lost 1 game. And look at this. The first game, that was game week number 2. They lost against Tottenham playing home. But since then, they've scored a lot of goals. Now, so we can expect Man City to be scoring a lot of goals. The past 2 games they played at home, they scored 8 goals. Look at that, 8 goals and conceded 3 goals. Let's have a look at Everton's record playing away. Now, Everton, they've lost 2 games and they've won 1 game only. And that game, they lost against Liverpool 2-1. They lost against Leeds and they won against Wolves in GameWeek 3. Overall, they've conceded 5 goals playing away. So this fixture seems like, statistically looking, this fixture looks like Man City is going to run riot, to be honest. if we look at, let's have a look at attacking returns from Man City, and we can clearly see Haaland has 8 attacking returns, the most out of any player in the entire league. Then Doku comes second with 4 attacking returns, but the risk of getting Doku in your team is clearly the rotation, Pep's rotation. He didn't play much in the last game, which was disappointing. So the difficulty is finding or picking out who to pick for this game. Haaland is clear favourite for a captaincy. Most likely I'm going to captain him as well, unless I see other better patterns. Everton. Grealish is actually, so that is very interesting to see here. Now, what I'm looking at is, other than Haaland, you can see in every other position, whether it's goalkeeper, defense, or midfield, Everton players dominate in terms of individual players. So we've got Grealish with 36 points. Then comes NDA. With 35 points. Ghana 31 points. In defense, we have Keane with 33 points, which is a very good with the total points of 35. Tarkovsky, total points 32, but 28 points in the past 6 games. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Let's have a look at Keane. So Michael Keane, he's only 4.5 million. We don't expect him to score goals, so his XG and XA would be very low, which is expected. But this is what I was looking for. Expected goal conceded 1.42, which means they are likely to concede goals. And if we look at his past record, which is going to load up, if he wants to load up, if we look at his past record, we can see that he's been playing 90 minutes generally. Last game he played only 64 minutes, but his defensive contribution is quite solid actually. So he is also likely to get good defensive contribution points, but they are likely to concede. So if Everton do not concede, they are going to get top points. So bear that in mind. But at the same time, they're playing Man City, one of the top scoring teams, so they are most likely to score goals, I guess. So my summary for this game is Haaland, captain, and it would be quite interesting to see how Man City's defense is. That's something I'm keen on to see. Whether they've improved their defense, whether Everton can score against them. That's something that I would be keen to see. And if Man City is able to keep a clean sheet, then we definitely should consider Man City defenders going forward. Next game, Sunderland versus Wolves. Look at this. This is very, very interesting. Sunderland have a 67% win record playing at home. Wolves haven't won a game at all yet. They've got a massive point difference between the two teams. 11 rankings difference. In terms of goals, though, Sunderland have only scored 2 goals in the past 3 games, conceded 3, whereas Wolves conceded 5 goals. So Sunderland have a very good record, but they're not scoring much, whereas Wolves are conceding a lot and they're quite losing regularly. So let's have a look at it in detail. Sunderland at home, they're like mid-table with 7 points. So they've won 2 games against West Ham and Brentford, and they drew against Aston Villa. They've only conceded 2. They've scored 6 though at home, which is very, very interesting. Good to note. At the same time, at the same time, Wolves away record, they've lost 2 games and they've drawn a game against Tottenham in GameWeek 6, which was quite surprising to see, but they've only conceded 3 goals actually, so that's quite interesting to see. They've only conceded 3 goals playing away, but they haven't won any games at all. So let's have a look at Sunderland and Wolves together. Top players are Sunderland goalkeeper Robin Royce. I think Sunderland are most likely going to have a clean sheet. Alderete is good to bring him back now. Alderete, Mukili, they've been top defenders so far. So I anticipate a clean sheet from Sunderland. Xhaka is doing quite well as well. Not necessarily super well, but look at his defensive contribution points. He is a very, very busy player in defense. You can see how many tackles he's done. In terms of striking, Isidore is the only possible player who can score, but he hasn't been getting full 90 minutes. So I think this is going to be a win for Sunderland. So I would potentially get the best players such as Xhaka and Alderete and Royf, goalkeeper. So if you have those players, definitely select them. Next game is Fulham versus Arsenal. Now this is very interesting. Although Arsenal have been performing the best so far and they're at the top of the league, look at this. They're going to play away to Fulham. Fulham have got a 67% home win record. Arsenal have a same percentage away win record. In terms of points, it's actually quite different. They've got 8 points between them, 13 league rankings. In terms of number of goals scored in the past 3 games, is equal, 5 each. However, Fulham conceded 7 goals in the past 3 game weeks, so, which is much more compared to Arsenal. If we look at Fulham's home record in detail, there they are. Look at this. This is actually very interesting. So they've won against Brentford and Leeds, and they drew against Man United. They've only conceded 2 goals at home. That is quite interesting. Now they are going to play against Arsenal. Arsenal are the top of the league, but when it comes to the away record, they are 4th place. So they don't have the best away record yet. But on the other hand, these teams have played actually more than 3 games. So Arsenal have a super good away record. They've won 2 games. They've won against Newcastle and Man United, and they lost 1-0 to Liverpool. So they've really had a tough fixture, to be completely honest with you, playing away, and now they're going to play Fulham. So it's going to be very, very interesting. If we look at Arsenal and Fulham together, Arsenal's Arsenal defenders have been absolutely solid. Jarian Timber, with a total of 48 points in the 48 points. Rice with 34 points. If we look at their midfield, Rice is the top performing midfielder